Welcome to Fear with Christine Spratley. Living like a head in charge, the podcast where Christine says fear, questions everything, and takes bold action. Christine Spratley is a former professional boxer, nanny, and 29-plus year corporate warrior turned founder of HBIC Advisors, where she is a public speaker and coach. She's been saying fear her whole life, many times without even realizing it. So tune in, spread the word, and get ready, because this isn't about aging with grace. It's about aging with mischief, audacity, and having a damn good story to tell.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fuck Fear with Christine Spratley. I'm really excited about today. One, I'm excited about it because I get to have Rhea Ellen on again. And Rhea, I'm just going to let you give your own little bio if you want to. But for those of you that listen to the podcast, you know who she is. She is my amazing friend across the pond, maybe coming over. We'll see about that. Yeah. But by the way, Rhea, you had great lipstick on today. I have red too. You can't see with where I'm at. I'm in the hotel room in Paris, and so you can't see. I look like, but you look great. Like awesome red lipstick. Yeah. So I'm going to kick it to Rhea, and then I'm going to get back. She can give her a little shout out to who she is, what, all that good stuff. And then we're going to come back and then do what today's session's about. So go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to say, if you all know who I am, can you call me up and let me know? Because it's one of those days where I'm not sure. That's the feel of the day. I've not a fucking clue. It depends on the day as to who I am, but I am Rhea Ellen Pete, and I'm figuring it the fuck out. At the moment, I'm an ex-medic, current mind-body practitioner, writer, and all-round head bitch in charge, I'm going to say. Head bitch trying to be in charge is what I'm going to be more specifically saying.
Rhea's got more degrees and back all this shit up. So let's just put it then.
And the grey hairs, I'll add.
Hey, I got them too. I mean, it's funny because during COVID, I had a massive racing stripe, and I'm getting ready, or I'm not getting ready. I have gone to trying to be more gray, but I just gray on the top. That's how I gray. And so I've had to lighten everything up all the way around. So it's fine. Gray hair's fun. I remember the first gray hair I ever found.
Oh, yeah.
I was living in Austin, Texas, and I literally was in the bathroom, and I was like, what? And I was like, what the fuck? And then I got closer, and I immediately, without thought or interaction, I literally went and got the tweezers and pulled that motherfucker out. I was like, boom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you do not belong here. And then and that was just the beginning. But yeah, so I could tell people, I would take old and achy over young and dumb any day. So I'm learning, and now I notice women with all gray, and I'm not there yet. And but it's amazing. I mean, there's some beautiful gray out.
There is. And I spoke to a relative of mine about first time I had that experience, and I did the same as you. I went straight for the tweezers and went, hello. And she went, girl, you think you've got a problem. Wait till you find your first gray pube. And I never complained after that.
That's a whole other thing. I used to be waxed, and I'm like, fuck it. We just don't even need to see it anymore. Just whatever. Yeah. And it was funny is like, those things are so interesting how you react to them. So we're gonna, that is not the subject. Gray hair on your gray pubes are not the subject of today's thing. But it is what is today's subject and kind of where I'm going with it. And I'm so glad you're on, because we talked a little bit about this earlier today. And really what it is I want to talk about the idea of, both in practical terms, we're not in therapy. This is not a therapy session today. This is a real life, put on your pads and play in the world that you're at, whether it be at work, whether it be with your kids, whether it be in a relationship with your husband, spouse, boyfriend, or just dating, or in relationships with girlfriends, or just in the world of what the fuck as it is. When you are strong enough to carry it, whatever it is. But then you realize that it's not the question. The question isn't, am I strong enough to carry it? The question is, am I strong enough to set it down? And I'm going to do a real life example for me is prior to coming to Paris, I'm in Paris to speak, and I spoke yesterday, and I needed to get a bunch of shit done, and I'm doing it. And I had this kind of thing go on in my life where I was like, man, that motherfucker is going to dump everything on me right before I head out. I know it. And I did everything in my power to speed it up, to manage up, and to do all these things, but I just knew it was coming. And sure enough, Friday, I think it was Thursday, Friday, I had to react and send it over. I got my stuff done during the weekend, but really wasn't packed all together and hadn't honestly written my speech. And so I'm going to do it Monday. I'm going to do it Sunday night. I fell asleep Sunday night, didn't do it. Got everything laid out on my couch to pack. My new packing cubes were coming Monday. So, again, organize and go do my stuff. I'd get my things done in the morning. I went and had my back worked on because it was way out of whack. Unfortunately, the epidural has not taken an effect. And I was getting on the plane Monday afternoon. Man, I got to go get this work. So I'm coming back from that. And sure enough, boom, shit drops. And I knew that was going to happen, and I had no control over it. So I'm muscling through, and I'll be damned. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to get through this, and just emotional headspace and all that stuff. And meanwhile, I'm not packing my packing gears. I'm not making my lodging reservations and logistics confirmed in Paris, and I'm leaving. So my thought is, well, I'll just do it on the flight, right? I'll just do that on the flight. But I'm going to get this done. I'm not going to take this. And so it was really interesting for me because I struggled. And thank God my friend Cameron came over and helped me pack shit because I was like way late. You're supposed to get on a flight 3 hours before. I got on like an hour and a half there. And I schmoozed the gate. Everything that could go wrong when I walked through the gate went wrong. They had just everything, but I got there and I was there and I was good. And I'm like, holy shit. Because I didn't pack all my technology, my cords, this and that, a converter, all this stuff you need. So I was carrying it, but I wasn't carrying the shit I should have been carrying. So I'm at the airport and I'm talking to a friend and they say, hey, well, as you're getting ready to go, why don't you just set it down, set the turd down. We talked about turds. Set the turd down until you come back on the 27th. And I said immediately, it's like that gringo, I was like, immediately, well, no, I'm going to respond and I'm not going to take this shit and blah, 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 blah. And wait till you get a load of me. I carried it. I carried the carry-on, fit nicely in the carry-on coverage, and I got it out, and I was working on it on the way to Paris, and then my computer went dead, and I was like, fuck, I'm in Paris, I don't have lodging. And so I get off the plane, I find my lodging. I know, Rhea, you're laughing. And again, this is from someone who used to be so meticulous about global travel. I traveled a ton of it. So I had stuff, and I was like, my itinerary. And so I was anything but organized. I land, and I'm like, all right. And I do know this. If you're going to get on your phone and do shit, do it in the area of your baggage before you get out into the general public. Because once you get out in the general public, everybody is looking at you like a tourist, and they're hitting you up for taxis and this and that. You cannot look unorganized. So I'm doing it. I say, okay, I'm going to go here. Well, here was this little village right outside Charles de Gaulle Airport, close to the convention center. But it's not a hotel, right? It doesn't have luggage stay. I can't check in early, so I'm texting the people going, can I get in early? So my Uber drops me off at like 10:30 in front of this little apartment that I can't get into. And I don't speak French. And it was just crazy. It was so stupid that I did all this. And this kind guy that was washing the windows came out and said, "Here, Elf." And we did the Google Translate thing, and he helped me. And I said, "A cafe." And again, Rhea, you're going to laugh at me because I'm a stupid American. Didn't realize cafe means bar, bistro. I mean, it's all that shit. And so he's like, "Oh, there's one down here and it's close and you help me take my luggage, my big suitcase, my little suitcase, me rolling in there. I've got my dress on. I'm wearing my wedges. I look good. Not for a little village in France, but I looked good for Paris." And I'm hit down there and cobblestones. And finally, I'm like, "Hey, back hurting." I'm like, "Hey, dude, you need to walk like a slower." So we go to this bar, and a little tiny bar, and one that I would have liked to drink in back in the drinking days. And this pissed off guy, she's an old guy running the chair, and the bar apron on stuff. And the guy I can tell that my guy who's been helping me is trying to explain to him, and he's not really liking it at all. And so finally my guy convinces him, just he would say, "Let her stay." And so I sat with my 2 pieces of luggage and stayed. And I was like, "Okay, I'm here. All right, I got a place to stay," and I was up to stay till 2. So I'm like, "Well, I want to go change." And I go to change, and he's like, "No, no, 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 no." And I'm like, "No, I'm trying to tell him I'm going to change." He's like, "No, no, no, you leave. And so he is literally pushing me out of the bar. He said, "Scoot him," like, "Okay, no, 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 you leave now." And I can't do it. But he was, and he said some other things that I couldn't understand, but I know when you're cussing somebody out. And in any language, there's just this universal "fuck you" tone that you get. And so I'm standing outside the bar, and I'm like, all right. So I open up my suitcase, I get my flats on, and I'm like, "What do we do now?" So I go into Paris, and I'm like, "Well, shit, I'm not staying there. I'll stay somewhere else." I get my thing reservation. I go into, I don't know, do you have these there in the UK? Nanny bags?
No, but you explained them to me earlier. I've never heard of them. We might, but I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know where they're at, but they're in France. And basically, you get to house your luggage in these locations. They're not lockers where you go in, you put your lock on. You literally give your luggage to someone you don't fucking know.
No, I don't think
And
we
you're like,
trust
okay.
anyone enough in the UK to do that. We don't trust anyone. So no.
Well, I will tell you that I normally wouldn't, but I am in Paris with 2 things of luggage, and I can't check in until I think 3 and it's 11, or 2 until it's 11. I'm like, fuck it, take it. And I walk in, and it was like a cross between a Russian mobster and the American mobster. I mean, that is the guy thing. It's like, who's the guy that I told you that he looked like the big French guy, the big. Yeah, but no, the French guy, the French actor, George Bourdet.
Yes,
the big one.
yeah.
Yeah. It was like that. And I walk in, there's this woman behind the counter, and she's like, doesn't say, I mean, it looks like a hair salon, because that's what it said on the door. And it was in a nice part of Paris, but it didn't feel like a nice part of Paris when I walked in. And I'm so, fuck it. I'm like, here, take my shit. And, he scanned it. It's all legit. It's reviewed, like all this stuff. I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. Whatever I have on now, I can wear to speak. So fuck it. Take it. So then I finally find this, and then we go over and I'm watching. And again, I'm still thinking about this turd in the back of my mind. And none of this would have happened if I would have not engaged and just sent it down. But none of this. And I've had multiple times to kind of like set it down. And I'm sitting at this cafe, and I'm reading my kind of stoicism thing, and it's the Marcus Aurelius quote, and about ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? And immediately, my mind went back to my friend at the airport going, well, you can set it down for till the 27th. And I thought, what the fuck are you doing? Is what you're doing necessary? And the only reason it was necessary is because I wouldn't set it down. So I was like, stop. I was sitting out in front of, I think it's St. George, the tower there, and in this beautiful little cafe. And the waitress had "feel" tattooed right on her chest plate up above. And we were talking about tattoos, and they were so funny and so sweet. And I couldn't speak a lick of French, but they didn't care. They were like text, we were doing it on the Google. And I just said, stop. And so that's a long-winded way to say, what are we carrying? What bag of bullshit are we carrying? And not only that, but Rhea, again, this is not therapy. Some of the bullshit that we carry is this emotional baggage or fighting, but it could be the chemical or this or that. But then we carry it into other parts of our lives. And it's like, what are we carrying, and what pantry items do you have that where you hit moments and you pull that pantry item out, like, oh shit, I'm gonna put this down? Because like me, if I don't practice stoicism, if I don't have people in my life like my friend who is like, okay, I'm gonna toss this out to you and I'm gonna watch you totally disregard it defiantly and let you run into that motherfucking wall all by yourself, because I'll be here. And I've talked about friends since, and they were like, yeah, we knew. I mean, I hit the bed yesterday, and like I told you, I slept for almost 12 hours. I was so exhausted. So it's like, I'm curious, and I wanted to vote, and you can take over because I've talked way too long, but I'm curious because it doesn't just happen. It's just, when we carry that shit around, but then what are your pantry items? What things are your cues to go, oh, I learned this lesson, I'll put that shit down.
Yeah, I think as you were talking, a few things kind of flagged up to me about where I've wrestled to hold on to that baggage, that turd. I've gone, no, it's mine, like, what am I without it? And I think one of them was when I worked in medicine. I mean, I didn't like it. I did not. A lot of the time, I enjoyed moments of it. I enjoyed parts of it. But I came home and I dread going the next day. But I carried on going for years because I went, well, I've got this label. Like, I know what this is. This is safe. This is known.
Yes.
Even if it's shit, right?
It's my turn.
Exactly. And there's something in identity in that. There's something in, I know the shape of my life. I know the shape of the turd. If I let it go, who knows what the frick I'm going to be holding on to? And then one day I kind of woke up and went, God, like, and this is going to sound a little bit morbid, but I went, you're going to die one day. And that, again, I know that sounds miserable, but I kind of went like, do I need this? In my eulogy, what do I want it to say? And I think that's a really interesting question, like what's your legacy? What's that going to look like? Because it sure as fuck isn't going to be holding on to whatever crap isn't serving you and isn't letting you find the parts of yourself that don't feel safe, but perhaps are where the more interesting parts are,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I always think like, do I need this label? Do I need this job? Do I need this man? Or is this a safety thing? Is this a turd I'm holding on to because I'm treading water and I'm going to drown,
Yeah. And I think that's the illusion.
Yeah.
Is that because I know, okay, the illusion for me is it's safety, right? It's really not.
No.
It's not at all. And whether it's the anger that I was talking to, it was on Tuesday when we were talking, and I was talking to, and I was talking about, that hard candy that we suck on. That's it's like shit. It's like, for me, it would be sucking on a black licorice piece of candy.
Agreed. Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And it's not even serving. It is destroying. It is taking up. It is not sometimes destroying me emotionally. I mean, when I took my job at EY, Big Four, I'm going to go get 2 years. That's what I was going to do, 2 years. okay, in Big Four. I was going to get it on my resume and then go and use it and move on. I stayed in Big Four for 13 and a half years. Now, was it not bad? No. But, the turd wasn't bad all the time. It's really workshop. I love some of the people that I worked with. And, but again, it's like that thing you were saying, it's that safety. And sometimes it could be, I'm pissed off and I want to feel that emotion where we do deal with it. Or something. But it's amazing the illusion of the unknown is worse than what I have. And the truth is, and what's funny, I talked about this yesterday in my speech, which is one of the reasons why I think it's so impactful to me, is that in Horowiz's poem, after a while, the end is you really learn, after a while, when you say goodbye, you learn that you really can endure, that you really are strong, and that you really are worth. And I never learn those things unless I go through and and then I know I can endure, and then I'm strong, and then I have worth. But like you say, if you're holding on to, so what else were you holding on to, big or small? It could be something small.
I think
that, and what made that trigger for you?
Yeah, I think what you say, it's like there's a martyrdom in it. There's like, oh, but I can, so I should, right? Maybe not everyone can. Not everybody gets the education. Not everybody gets the job. So I better keep showing up, even if it freaking kills me, because I can. And that's, and I think I've had people say to me in the past, kind of, well, it's you always show up. You always get through. You can. And then one day, I lost something like 15 pounds. I was really, really chronically stressed. I had no time to eat. It might have even been closer to 20. And I got up one day and went, I can. Do I fucking want to? And it hadn't occurred to me to go, do I want to? Does that follow? Like, it's just, just because I can does not mean I want to.
We're the last to ask ourselves the most important question. Want to? Do I want this? And like, not should I want it, not should I keep it, but do I fucking want this?
Yeah.
And then go, I don't. Okay.
But this is the thing, and I think that's the hardest place to be, because it's sometimes we get an instant feeling of, oh, I don't. But what does to want feel like? Because that's scarier. That's almost, I think, particularly in women, if we're so kind of, there's fear there in the response of the want. Where do you kind of move with that? And I think a tool that I use now is I don't ask my mind, I ask my body. And there's something in a kind of thinking of the body as almost like a pendulum, right? Like a, one of those, I can't remember what they're called. I think they're called pendulums that kind of go,
you there, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you there.
Rather than asking in here, you have to drop down and go, okay, heart, okay, guts, like, what do you want? Because this is a freaking terrible master, a great servant, but the mind is a terrible master. And it tricks us into thinking that it's in charge,
I like that saying, the mind is a terrible master, because again, I would, on my way, so my back, my back's crazy. And then I was on that 6-hour flight and I was a mess. But again, and then I get to yesterday morning where I'm going to speak, and I'm literally like, you can't fall asleep in the Uber. Like, you can't. Like, you gotta. He was like, not. And then I go do my thing, and then I'm riding back, and I've dozed off. And again, my body is just, like you say, you've got to ask your body. And I, thank God, this hotel had the best bed. Firm enough, but soft, but because I'm my back, I need firm. And I got up this morning, and my body was like, "Thank you." And I never, if I get up and snap mugshots, and I usually get up at 6, and I slept till 10:30 and was like, I mean, I got up at 8 because I woke up 8:30 and I think I sent my mugshots out. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember. But again, listen to your body. And I think women, I know for me, I was not in tune with my body. I didn't trust my body. I didn't know anything about it. And even if I was in tune with it, I didn't know what the fuck it was telling me.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And I went through this on a conversation with my buddy last night. And I said, you know, in AA, we call it HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And when I think about that, I usually think about it like you were saying, the mind. But now if I look at it and I go, my body, is my body hungry? Is my body bristling? You know, am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I kind of in that hunched over kind of, you know, your gut doesn't feel right? And am I tired? Is it just literally napping? But I think that is such a great thing. Your mind is a terrible master and your body. But how do you learn? Because I know this has been a journey for you, but how do you continue to learn? And did you learn to get in tune with your body? Like what it's actually saying when you're not able to sit and fucking meditate. And even if it speaks to you, what the fuck is it saying? But like on a daily basis.
Yeah. It was, I mean, it's still a journey that I'm on, but it's been about 7 years, and it took getting, as it always does, as it often does, getting really sick and my body literally screaming at me for me to go, something's not right. And I'm not going to find it in my mind because, boy, I looked and I looked. And the more I looked, the further I got away from the actual answer. And it took reading, it took some incredible teachers, but really it took getting to a point of near breaking to actually sit and go, and literally go, what are you saying? Like, what do you want? And more to that, can I listen? Or is it too painful to listen? And then bit by bit, kind of, even with food, like sitting in front of it and going like, okay, what do I want? I mean, for 6 months, and this is, I still don't know why this happened, but for 6 months, Christine, all I wanted to eat was burnt broccoli. I don't know why that happened, right? I do not know why, but for 6 months, right? It was wild. And now I can't look at it, right? Now, if I see it, but 6 months, all I wanted, it had to be really burnt. It must have been doing something. But yeah, I think now, mostly I notice when I'm in here and it's bouncing around, because I've stopped being able to feel my feet, feel my stomach, feel my heart. And I go like, oh, where have we been? And eventually, the beautiful thing is the more you kind of drop in and go, right, okay, I'm going to listen, even if it's, can I feel my heartbeat? Can I feel my breath? The breath is a brilliant way in because we have to do it. You know, it's there all the time. Eventually she starts speaking back. And at first it's a whisper. At first it's like, oh, you know, a little bit over here. And then it gets a little bit louder. And then it just becomes this natural conversation.
How does she speak back? Because I know for me, my body right now speaks back in my morning constitution. You know, it's like I wake up and if I didn't eat right, if I didn't do things like I'm and also I get inflammation in my hands. And my back speaks to me all sorts. But I'm curious, what ways does your body go, hey, something up, girl, something up, Bria?
Okay.
Because I want my listeners to go, oh, because they may not have ever, like for me, when I started doing it, it was, okay, the breath, but there's more than just that going, hey,
there is, and a couple of things, Christine, I will say, and I say this with all the love and tentatively, your body's not speaking, she's shouting. And 2, I know in terms of the breath, there is more, but what I would say is that's your cue in. That's the first way in.
It's a telephone line.
It is. It's the first way in. And in terms of how mine speaks, I mean, it varies day to day. One of the ways I've noticed is say, for example, I see a written word or I hear something and it's like, boom, slight flicker of the heart, we're holding ourselves a little more. And I'm like, why are you acting like you're going to be attacked? You know, you get that thing.
Your posture changes.
The posture changes. I'm not open. I'm very one for hollowing and going in and the chest becoming inwards. And I'm like, okay, so what are we responding to here? What is it that's making you feel unsafe? What is it? Is it happening now? Is it tracking back into the past and we just think it's happening again because of the stimuli? Like, what is it? And what I found often with the body is mine particularly, and I imagine yours, knowing who you are, like a big way in is through music, right? What do I want to hear today? What does she want to move to today? Because, and I'm working with this fabulous dance teacher at the moment who talked to me recently about how historically women would move through music day to day. We'd move through our trauma, our emotions, our griefs. Dance and rhythm, it was all part of the day-to-day makeup. And we don't, therefore, tension, stress, trauma, it didn't get stuck because we moved through it. We were so much more active and dance was a big part of day-to-day life. Whereas now we're so stagnant and we have the music that we're listening to, but we're not moving with it. It's not a conversation. We're receiving it, but we're not responding to it. And I think that's really important. So what are you craving? What brings you alive today? What brings her alive
what
today?
speaks to her?
Exactly.
It's funny because you're right. You know me very well on that. I adore music. And it's funny because, my stepdaughter Madison is in Nashville and she's a singer-songwriter doing her thing. Amazing. And we have totally different tastes in music. But I finally feel like I get the beauty of music because I literally love it. And it talks to me. And it can be like in the morning I feel this and in the afternoon I feel this or whatever. But I want to move with it. I want to, and again, I know, please, you're so funny. I listen to a lot of, we've changed songs. But in the last 2 to 3 weeks, 2 weeks specifically, I've been on theirs and stuff. And I've been listening to a lot of John Hyatt, kind of written blues, that sort of stuff. And, Sade and just, different soulful things. And it was funny. I literally was thinking last night, I was like, this is what I want to fall asleep to. Like, this is a comforting thing. And I do think music can do that. And I think it's one of the almost, and you tell me, because you've probably studied something like this, where the connection to it is almost subconscious. We talked about how the body has like 4. And so the body listens to our environment without us knowing it. I mean, yes, we know it. We can see signs, but it's also keeping score. Does it respond to the stimuli of music in that way for soothing? And like, is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, I don't know if you've ever had one of those days where you're moving through tracks and you're going, well, this isn't it. It was it yesterday. It might have been it last week, but I can't find the right sound today. And that's another way in which I think we can really go, oh, something isn't fitting. Something's happening deeper.
I'm hearing some shit.
Yeah, where is the turd? Where's it hiding?
What pocket is it in? So how'd that make it security? The fuck. That's what we need, is we need like a security thing to walk through and go, scan for all the turds. All right, I'm up there on the board. All right. Yeah. Like seriously, like a wand. Be like, all right.
From a farm kid to college, nanny to pro boxer, to boardrooms, Christine Spratley has lived a life that defies convention. Whether she's talking about fuck fear, doing this scared is still doing it, or beating the boys club, their game, our rules, your style. She delivers sharp wit, real talk, and a fearless approach to leadership, success, and personal growth. After hearing Christine, your audience will have a plan and unapologetically run until apprehended toward their fulfillment. Book her now at christinespratley.com.
I think what's also incredible is that I know that I'm carrying stuff sometimes. And I get in this delusion, this self-imposed delusion, because I know enough to know that I can stand down. I mean, when my friend said that, I was like, yeah, I know, but it's and it's delusion that I need to either be strength comes through proving that I can carry it, or the delusion that I'm making a choice to carry it when really I'm making a choice to pretend I'm going to be safe and not deal with whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That, I think that really, really hits, doesn't it? Like, it's almost like, oh, I'll take ownership. Therefore, it's not so much of a strain. If I go, I'm choosing to engage with it, then it's that kind of false sense of, oh, I got this. And then
It's a choice. It's my choice.
Exactly. And actually underneath, you can, I mean, for me, I can definitely tell I've overridden my body's intuition of going, this isn't best for you. You know it's not. You're sitting there in the driver's seat.
That's
like,
bullshit. Your bullshit meter is
literally
like way
bullshit.
down there.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I choose to carry this. And it's like, why? We not got enough shit going on. What are you doing to us?
It's funny how, you know, there's a Lucinda Williams song, Lucinda Williams song. I'll send it to you. It's called Joy. And a friend of mine, I hadn't listened to it for years, and I can't remember the last time I heard, but I know I've heard it in the past. Lucinda Williams, I love her. And it's joy, and it's like, who stole my joy? I want my joy back. I want my fucking joy back. And it's like, there's so many opportunities along the way to set it down and get your joy back, whatever it is. And I think, for me anyway, sometimes I think, well, this is just about the big stuff, but it's not. It's about, like, I carried my thing. So I didn't bring my technology. So I had to go buy it at the airport, which sucks. But I'm in there and I'm talking to this great young woman, and we start talking. I started coaching her, and we started having this great conversation, and, you know, just about business, and that was joyful to me, right? Like, there was an offering.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't stay in it. But again, it's like, I just think for me, and I hope for my audience, whatever your body's telling you, however you get in touch, look at the lights. They're there. The signals are there. Put the shit down. You don't get it. Like you said, at the end of the day, they're not going to stand up and go, well, she endured, X amount of years at this job, and she put up with this asshole for X amount of years, and this client who was psycho did this, and we all love her for it. I once heard, and I can't remember the place, and I'll try and find it, someone say, well, they gave her the shirt off the bat. She'd give her your shirt off the bat. And they were like, celebrate this? No, don't do that. That's your shirt, dumbass. Keep that shirt so you can keep fucking pulled on you. Like, this mentality, and I think part of it too is, for me, I was very much raised where you were a martyr. You brought that up. I think women in general are taught the more we are caregivers, the better person we are.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to switch that around. I will say yes, but the caregiver I'm supposed to be taking care of, the person, the human, is me.
Yeah.
First and always. Like, this is the only human that I have total domain of.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and the human being I'm supposed to raise is me. And raise doesn't mean till I'm 21. Raise means grow, love, nurture, and cherish and protect throughout my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean being someone's mother.
No, and that's exactly it. I think what I've noticed is people have this inherent fear of being selfish. You must have heard it, like, oh, oh, no, I don't want to be seen as selfish. I can't be selfish. You know, it's a bad word. It feels bad to say it in your mouth. It's got a bad feel to it. And I find that really interesting because it's like we're all inherently selfish. That's just biologically, we are programmed to survive. Like, it's mad. But I think particularly with women, it gets tossed around. Like, I mean, I've heard a few people say, and people say about people in my family, like, oh, they're too selfish to have kids. Oh, she's too selfish to be a mum. She's too selfish to be a wife. And it's like, well, what you're saying here is that she's not just going to lie down on the floor and let people trample all over her. And you're going to persecute her for that because you did it. So you get this kind of, this kind of in and out group thing with it, where people who have lived their life like that they're bitter. So if they see it not happening, they have to shoot it down. Like, oh no, she's selfish. It's the worst thing you could possibly be. Forget being, you know, carrying the plague or whatever like that. That being selfish is the worst. It's really interesting.
It's funny because I think I'm exploring the dynamics because I deal with a lot of really strong, powerful women that are accomplished. And certain men are attracted to those women, right?
We know what sort are attracted to those women, Christine.
Yeah. They're scared to death of them, but they're attracted to them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like they get their power from being in their light. And, you know, she looks good, she talks good. And it's almost like we want you to have that strong voice until you start voicing your own, to me, needs and wants. And it's amazing how that is turned against them.
Weaponized.
Where, you know, go out and get that job and they work. And then it's like, okay, now take a lesser job. And it's like, what? Now you're being selfish. Like, what the fuck? You know, or whatever. Because, you know, I didn't have children. I didn't give birth to children of my own, but I did help when they were there and everything. But like, you know, women, and there's the Beyonce song that talks about you know, you give birth and then you're back at work. You know, you can do both. And it's like, there's these incredible women. And I talk to them and I'm like, what? You're just asking for a break. You didn't like tell them, like, you're just sharing the fucking load now instead of carrying it all. But it is this idea of, I can't be selfish. I can't put that down. And I think two things you said that really hit me. One was the inherent guilt that we accept in that. And the fight of no. And sometimes it's just for the breath that we want to survive. Like, that's how much we're trying to get on. And we really, like you said, the body is screaming. I've known so many. I've got a friend that has had so much autoimmune issues and things like that finally they like broke down like that and was still trying to work. Yeah. And it was fun. It was the place she was working, but it's amazing that. And the other thing that kind of caught me was the whole idea the question of what do I want? Because I remember it wasn't the question for me because again, my husband a few years back was like, we were pulling in the garage and said, Christine, here now. And I can't, like, and I knew it was an inside job, but he was like, you got to figure this out. Like, what do you want to do? And what scared me wasn't the fact that I couldn't go get it. That and done, and I can go get something. It was the fact that I might not know because I was so shut off from knowing what I want. I could tell you a job, but I couldn't, you know, but really, like, and one of the things that was really interesting was, again, the book Break Your Own Rules. The question that they asked the women when they were going through it was, if failure's not an option, what does that look like? What does that look like? Like, it's not an option. You can be the top of whatever. Like, what does that look like? And it took me a long time to be able to answer that question.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I didn't, but that's what scared me. Literally, was I going to know? Could I know?
Yeah.
How do I get to know? Because I was never one of these people that said, oh, I know what I want to be when I grow up. And because I was so not in touch with me.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, similarly, I think when you're growing up and actually if someone said, what do you want? You go, I want to survive this bit. Like, you don't have the luxury of designing your own life when you're put in a situation where thriving isn't an option, but surviving is the day-to-day. Like, you can't forward think that far. I mean, I certainly couldn't. And I think with what you've just said and failure not being an option, I think what's really interesting, and when I've been speaking to women that I work with, it's like they don't want a specific thing. It's not a job. It's not a house. It is a feeling. And that feeling is ease. And it's more like, what's the vehicle that will give you that ease, as opposed to what do you want? Because I also think the word want, when it comes to womanhood, it's dangerous territory. And there's something in the witch wound of that, or there's something in kind of, again, the selfishness or the not daring to want.
Naked tone.
Whenever we've dared to want, I mean, for me, whenever I've dared to want it, it's blown the fuck up in my face. You know, so it's like, I don't think I'm going to want it again. I might sneak and slowly kind of crawl
I'm not going to slice the pie, but never the whole pie.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wanted yesterday's pie, but
yeah, I'll have
today.
the stale one from a week ago, or like I'll reheat some of yours if you've not finished it. But my own,
that's the funny thing. That's the funny thing about, we know it tastes shitty, but I'll pick the shitty because I know what that tastes like, because it's better than wanting the really good stuff.
Exactly.
And the truth is, this is the truth for me, is that whether I acknowledge that I want it, whether I acknowledge that I would like to feel this way, that's the fucking truth. It's in me.
Yeah.
And so it's just, and then it takes so much energy, not only to swallow that nasty ass shit that we carry, eat, or whatever, that we don't want, but then also to suppress and keep that want, to keep that down. It takes so much energy to do both.
It does. It really does. Yeah.
And it's like, I think, and I'm going to bring Joe into this just for a second, Joe. But, and Rhea, if you know this reference, that's fine. But you know in Animal House, Joe, where they say they're doing do you know Animal House?
Yeah, I do know it, but it's actually on a list of movies that I should have watched, but I haven't watched yet.
Yes, everybody should have watched it. That's exactly what should have happened. You should watch that movie. It's completely inappropriate and not politically correct, so of course you want to watch it. But there's this scene in there where in fraternities and universities over here where they have fraternities, right?
Yes, yeah.
And they go through this pledging where you have to prove yourself, and basically it's they don't say that it's hazing anymore, but there's a lot of fucking hazing that goes on. And so this guy is on all fours. They're in the pledging ceremony, and they're whacking him in the ass with this big mouth. That you remember that, Joe?
I haven't seen it.
Oh God! Oh, that's right. You know. Well, anyway, they're whacking him in the ass with this. Pull it up if you can. Put it in the podcast clip. But they're whacking him on the ass, and this pledge is going. Yes, sir. May I have? Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? And they just start whacking the shit out of him. And that's what it's like. It's like saying, yes, sir, may I have another? It absolutely hurts. It absolutely sucks. And you say you want it, but you don't fucking want it. Excuse my language, guys. But it's like, that's what we tell ourselves. And then, again, we're spending all that energy going, and you spend all that energy hanging on to it. And then you have to spend all this other energy going, no, so keep that quiet. Don't, even if you don't know what you want, that feeling of, ooh, I want something different. Don't whisper to that. Don't spark the embers. Does that make sense for you?
Oh, Christine, it makes a painful amount of sense. Like, you can see me nodding like my head's going to fall off in a minute. Like, oh my God, I'm like one of those dogs in a windshield. Like, yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. So I guess I'm going to throw you a question like, all right,
Go.
how do we not do that? How do we start? And where would you say? So for me, obviously, like a bit about my life, where I am. Like, I've got aspirations. I want to get my book published. I want a kind of freaking clean slate of what I want. Where's a girl start? Like, how do you free fall into that shit?
Well, okay, I'll put kind of my coaching hat on. And, well, it's not coaching because I'm going to tell you an answer, and coaching is more about the question. But I'll throw you a question. So my coach, because, again, I like this idea, but then how do you put that into play, right?
Exactly, yeah. What's the tools?
And the first thing, I have like 4 things. I just funny because I did this yesterday in my talk. And there's these things. The first things is to start listening. Even if you can't, give it a pour, and listen to, like you said, the body. Listen to, and in the simple art of not giving a fuck, it's a book. And he talks about every time you bristle at something, you have a belief about it. Doesn't mean it's a good belief or bad belief. So what I started doing was, I was already in my process of trying to figure out what I want, but I started going little pad next to my thing every time I was like, oh, motherfucker, or ooh, that feels good. Like I had a belief, something was it. And so it sparked a little note about what it was. And then I'd go back and go, what's that about? What belief is that? Is that my belief? Is that society's belief? What do I want to carry that belief? Is it proven to be a belief? Or is it just bullshit? And why am I carrying the bullshit belief? So the first thing is just, I started to do little things like that to get in touch with what's going on, paying attention, to paying attention to what's going on with me. And like I said, that interaction in your life. And the second thing was I started taking the next best action on breathing, because it's that illusion that I got to be ready. I got to have everything done but what I've realized again in this book of the Atomic Habits, it's you make in order to be successful in making your habits, because you are what your habits are, you do the little things which give you success. And so it's like, and there's a bunch of other things, but so I would start doing the next best action. I'm making the decision based on the knowledge that I have today. That's the plan. And so I would do this. So one of my things was in 2024, I made a business plan. Okay. Because I was like you, wanted to go out on my own, and I wanted to do this. I wanted to have some priorities. And that business plan started my business in 2026. Everybody knows that I started my business in May of 2029 is when I incorporated. Or May 29th, 2020, last year. So now, but had I not had that business plan, had I not had started, again, putting down on paper what maybe I want, what maybe I think, and I tweak that shit left and right, and it's still an ebb and flow. Because again, and I'll get to that, but so that was it. One of the things was, what is the next best course of action? It may not always be the right course of action, but it's like any other product that you put out or any other thing. If you are willing, once you put it out into the marketplace, that's when you get your response and you can pivot. So the best next course of action doesn't mean it's the final course of action, right? It just means and it keeps propelling you, because then you can get more information. So whatever that is, and make it small if it needs to be small. If you're ready to take a big jump, take a big jump. But what is the next thing that's going to get you 1% closer to what you want? Is it giving yourself a deadline on the book? Is it giving yourself, what is it? Is it saying, okay, I'm going to write for X, then this, or I don't know, do you need your final editor? Whatever it is, I'm sure you have a list of things that need to be done, but just take one. Don't take 5 of them. And if that one thing requires you to 5 subsets, because that's what I do, I roll everything up, but I'm going to do 10. I can't do one thing today, even though that one thing requires me to do 50 fucking things, right? And then, because I'm always taking the best next course of action, then I'm always in movement forward. right? Even if it's small. Like, you can't finish the fucking race if you don't start. But if I never start, or I start everything at once, I get overwhelmed, then I stop. So it's like, take the next best course of action. Then the other two, because again, to me, that is always your bank. If you are always taking the next best course of action, always taking action, then it's the tribe. Put people around you and get you a tribe that you participate in. Not one that's just kind of lollygagging around, and not one like you talked to me and said, hey, girl, I think it sounds like bullshit. Or what, we've had this, we've had this. And I've got other women in my life who said, hey, listen, I know I'm going to go kick their ass, but then I'm going to come back and kick yours because you know better than that shit. Or I've got like my friend who was like, you might want to put that down until the 27th. Just saying. Put people around you that know that you're seeking to move forward and that are invested in your wants. Like, they want you to want that and they'll get it. Not just passengers on the bus that you're driving. And then the final one, which I think is so important, is give yourself grace. And I have a friend, you've heard me talk about it. Her name is Grace, and she talks about talking to her friend Grace, like viewing herself in a chair, and it's not Grace more, it's friend Grace. And how would she talk to that friend Grace? So sometimes I say, no, how would I talk to, if Rhea came to me with the same shit what would I say to Rhea? How would I encourage her? How would I be honest with her? How would I love her? How would I be gentle with her? How would I tell her to get up and move? How would I say she's the most amazing thing? Of course she's going to have doubts, but you can do this. Like, how do I give myself grace? And part of that goes back to the next course of best action, which is I need to remember that I don't arrive. And so when I put it out there and I take that action and it comes back and it's fucked up, it wasn't the right action because in my head everything has to be right or wrong. I started evaluating. It's like, oh, give it grace. Okay, well, that wasn't right. Okay, next. Now I know that. Put it over here. Think, what's next? Again, giving myself that grace and not sucking on my disappointment like a hard candy that tastes like shit, which then prevents me because I become so small and so scared to take the next right course of action, the next best. So those are kind of like, it's really funny because we didn't know we were going to do this until last night, and we didn't know the topic until today. And it's funny because literally those are the 4 things of kind of the fuck fear framework that I like, really, how do I do this? How do you get in touch and it's like, tell on yourself, to yourself and to others. Like, what is that? Get those embers burning of, my first thing was I was in a women's group, Strong Women's Network during COVID. It started way back then for me. And I said, I don't want to know what I'm going to do. And they were like, okay. And I told on myself to them. And then every once in a while, they'd be like, so what are you doing about that? I don't know. How are you doing about that? But I gave it, again, out of my head, like you're saying, out of my head and into the world. And I think that's so important. And then I went and then I started to take the next best course of action. Again, I love the consultant speak. This is the next best course of action with the caveat that I may learn more and additional information later and change my mind. Yeah. It may not be the right course of action, but this is the best of my knowledge at this point in time. And then, because then I'm always taking action. And then the people that want me to succeed. Of the heart, not just of the mind, not just of my financial bank account, but want me to succeed. And then I treat myself. I talk to friend Grace. I talk to friend Christine. I treat myself. I would love it if the women of this world would treat themselves like the mama bears they are to their children. Or their sisters, or their aunties, or their best friends. If we did that, hey, or can I? We will. We will. And we're learning how. And I don't know. Thank you. This has been good. This has been really good. I hope the audience has enjoyed it. Joe, I hope you've enjoyed it. But I just appreciate you so much, Miss Rhea. And we're going to work on getting you over across the pond.
Oh, yeah. Sounds good. And thank you. It's been a dream and a treat as always.
As always.
Thanks for tuning in to Fear with Christine Spratley. Living like a head in charge. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, tell her what topics you want to hear, and share this episode with someone who could use a pantry full of boldness in their life. Remember, life isn't about aging with grace. It's about aging with mischief, audacity, and having a damn good story to tell. So show up, take action, and keep saying fear.